emergency surgery goes haywire.
I was clinically dead for 5 minutes and 42 seconds.
A single mother comes back to life, unaware her escape from death has unleashed a dark force, intent on her destruction.
Something was going on, something unexplainable. I was petrified. I felt terrified.
In America, there is real evil. It lurks in the darkest shadows in our most ordinary towns. Between the worlds we see and the things we fear, there are doors. When they are opened, nightmares become reality. Lafayette, Indiana, 2005. Single mother Victoria Denier works hard to provide a good life for her daughter Anna.
Can I sleep in your room tonight?
No, sweetie. You have to stay in here with Mozart. He needs you.
Mom,
Yes,
can we go to the park tomorrow?
of course.
Holding down a full-time job while finishing her master's in biology at Purdue University is not easy. But it seems life is good for the moment. But then, early one morning in June, a sudden attack of intense pain sends Victoria to a hospital for an emergency appendectomy. Before surgery, a nurse's mistake causes her to be overdosed with 2 powerful pain medications. Moments later, her heart stops.
Clear.
5 minutes and 42 seconds later,
Discharge. Clear.
Victoria is pronounced dead.
Time of death, 9:13. Victoria?
I was basically clinically dead for 5 minutes and 42 seconds. When I came to, I remember that they had me surrounded.
Where am I?
You're in the hospital. We thought we'd lost you.
When they first told me, it felt a little bit awkward. I didn't know how to react and I didn't know how to respond. I mean, how do you act when someone tells you you've died? It's kind of a lot to take in.
Am I okay?
You will be.
I know that most people report seeing a bright light or a tunnel or people. I didn't see anything.
What Victoria sees isn't light. It's darkness. 24 hours after returning from the dead, Victoria is released from the hospital. She feels strong enough to give her home a good spring cleaning, starting in the attic.
I happened to go all the way to the very end of the attic. There was like a little cubby, and I found 2 boxes there. When I opened up the first box, it looked like military uniforms and things like that. The second box I opened up, I found a helicopter.
Hey, looky what I found.
Oh, cool. Does it work?
I don't know. Let's find out. Probably have to get some batteries. So, doesn't look like they have any in here.
You sure we don't have any?
Oh, well, we'll get some.
Out of the blue, the whole propeller just started going. It was going really, really fast. The lights started flashing off and on the helicopter.
What is going on?
So weird.
There were no batteries. It couldn't work without batteries. We were both freaked out. I mean, what do? You're seeing something that in a normal mind you would think it shouldn't be happening, but it was happening. And then all of a sudden it just stopped.
Are you sure there's no batteries in there?
We just kind of sat there and took a couple of breaths, like thinking, okay, maybe we didn't see what we just thought we saw.
This is empty.
There's no batteries.
I was trying to give some kind of a rationalization as to why it was doing what it was doing. There had to be a glitch somewhere mechanically that had caused it to do that.
I'll be right back.
Victoria contacts her landlord to ask where the helicopter and military uniforms came from.
Maybe the previous tenant just left some boxes behind.
She basically let me know that she had no idea who they belonged to.
Well, what are we gonna do with it?
Nothing.
I just decided right then and there I was going to put it back in the box. I didn't want anything else to do with that.
Who owned the items found in the attic? The answer remains a mystery.
I put it back exactly where I found it, and didn't touch it again after that.
Victoria tries to forget about the strange experience. But 3 weeks later, something happens that makes the helicopter incident look like child's play.
Mom? Mom? What's going on?
It must be a power surge or something. It's nothing to worry about. Okay? Come on, let's go back to bed.
When I went into my bedroom, within 5 minutes, it came back on and it did the exact same thing. When I went back into the living room, the TV shut off. I went back into my room and then it didn't do anything for the rest of the night. I swore it had to have been something electrical. I didn't really think much of it at that time.
A toy with a mind of its own. A TV that turns on by itself. Could they just be power glitches? Or is there something else in the house? Later that night,
I heard my name called in the house. I thought it was my daughter. I got up and immediately went and checked on her, and she was asleep. This time, I realized that it was a man's voice. It wasn't my daughter calling me. That really kind of sent me into shock because there was no man in my house. It was just my daughter and myself. I started coming to the realization that maybe it wasn't a glitch with the TV or with the helicopter. At that point, I felt like there was something in my house.
Does it work?
I don't know. Let's find out.
After a series of unexplainable events, Victoria Danier fears that her house may be haunted.
Hey, Mom, I'm fine. I have something I need to talk to you about.
Victoria confides in her mother, Renee Perez.
When Victoria called me and told me about what was happening at home and all the experiences that she was having, I believe her completely.
The women in my family were definitely what you would call sensitive. I always felt like I had to see it before I believed it.
I can't help but think about Grandma and how she used to talk to spirits.
Growing up, my grandmother always described certain things that she would see that nobody else around her could see.
Your grandmother, she had a gift.
She could see spirits all around her.
I just remember my mama talking about it. She always thought about the good energies, bad energies. She always said, when you are afraid of something, you're feeling the bad energy. You need to ignore it.
Well, I can't just ignore it. I have to do something.
Victoria's mother advises her to perform a ritualistic cleansing of the home using sage.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
With sage, you are bringing peace and harmony and love in your home, and all the bad energy has to go.
As we forgive those who've sinned against us.
I followed her advice, and I did everything that she told me to do.
And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
For a few weeks after that, the house remained calm. It felt really light and comfortable for a change.
Victoria returns to a normal routine. She focuses on her studies.
Mozart. Mom, I think something's wrong with Mozart.
Yeah, he's probably tired from all the barking he did in the hallway last night.
No, it's different. I think he's sick. Really sick. Mom. Please come look at him.
Okay, I'll take a look.
Between 2 to 3 months after we cleaned the house, my dog started acting a little bit strange. He got to the point where he didn't want to eat. He was barely drinking anything, and that was completely out of character for him.
Come here. Are you okay? Come here. I got you.
So I went ahead and I took him to the vet, and they did a complete workup on him, and the doctor basically told me that they couldn't find anything wrong with him. They told me maybe I needed to change his food or something to that effect, and I tried doing that, and he just didn't want to eat.
Well, his blood work looks fine.
I took him back to the vet about 3 more times, and they couldn't find one specific thing wrong with him. All of his labs came back normal, and it was just horrible to watch him.
Medically speaking, he's fine.
But obviously he's not.
Sorry, there's not much else I can do for you.
He was howling in pain. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. I just felt like something had been attacking him. Maybe I had stirred something up by going into the attic. Maybe they were angry because I had touched something that didn't belong to me.
Victoria believes there's a connection between the paranormal activity in her house and her dog's illness. But she is unable to protect her beloved pet.
We didn't have a choice. We weren't going to make him suffer. And at that point, we decided that the best thing to do was to put him to sleep.
He's a good boy.
But the pain does not stop with the passing of her dog.
About a month and a half later, my cat started displaying the same symptoms.
Is she gonna die?
I don't know, honey. I don't know.
I strongly felt that there was a connection. After we cleansed the house, all of a sudden it was almost like a retaliation, like telling me, you know what, you tried to get rid of me, but it's not working. I'm still here, and I'm going to show you. That's what I felt, and I was so angry. My dog had to be put down. My cat was not going to get put down.
Mom?
That was the last straw. I wanted out. I just wanted out. We were leaving.
For Victoria Danier, the escalation of supernatural activity in her home, culminating in the death of her dog, convinces her to leave Lafayette, Indiana. Victoria and her daughter Anna move to New Mexico, where they will live with Victoria's parents in a small community outside Santa Fe. She looks forward to leaving behind the trauma of her old life and making a fresh start in a seemingly safe place.
I felt by making the move to New Mexico that everything would stay at the house and I could just start with a clean slate.
It was pretty emotional welcome to know that I have her home and my granddaughter. We were together after being separated for such a long time.
Lots and lots and lots of driving.
Within a few weeks, Victoria finds a job as a lab technician at a hospital in Santa Fe. A month goes by without incident. Victoria is relieved to finally be leading a normal life. Then, one night,
I knew what was going on. Immediately, I knew. You just have that gut feeling. I was praying that I was wrong, but I knew. I instantly knew that there was something there. So I finally just decided to go ahead and sit in the living room for a minute. And once I did that, then it just stopped.
Victoria tries to ignore her growing anxiety and focus on work. But she believes something is haunting her again.
Are you okay? You're bleeding. Here, lean forward.
I actually started my job in March. By October, I started having these really weird symptoms at work. By November, I started really, really getting sick to the point that I started having seizures. They ran all kinds of tests. They did MRIs, they did CAT scans. Every single test came back normal. They couldn't figure out what was going on.
For a year, we were in and out of hospitals, to the point I was afraid that I was going to lose her.
It just seemed like I was getting worse and worse. It kind of made me think, it's kind of weird, but I'm almost having the same symptoms that my dog was having.
Back at home, Victoria struggles with her poor health and her fears.
I just felt like there was something or someone staring at me. You just get that feeling that there's someone in the room with you.
Please go away.
People think that you see something scary and you're going to scream or whatever, and it wasn't like that. I couldn't move.
Please go away. Please go away.
There was no doubt in my mind. I was fully awake. I was very coherent, and I knew it wasn't a figment of my imagination. I knew I wasn't dreaming. It was there. It was just as plain as day, and there was no confusing what I'd seen.
Over the next month, Victoria's condition gets progressively worse.
Good. Another deep breath.
She suspects that her chronic illness might have a supernatural cause, but she keeps looking for a rational cure.
I had a doctor that actually stated that my symptoms were leaning toward lupus.
Has anybody ever talked to you about that possibility? I can give you some medicine, and I think you'll feel better.
So they went ahead and started me on some medication, and eventually I somewhat had an improvement.
Thank you.
I went to a rheumatologist because they're the ones that actually classify you if you have lupus or not. And when he ran the test, he told me that I didn't have it. I was showing symptoms, but I didn't have it. So it was almost like a mystery diagnosis.
Regardless of the inconclusive diagnosis, Victoria feels better day by day and starts to take control of her life again.
It was like I went from 1 minute to barely walking to the next minute I'm up and around and walking and doing fine.
But there is one change.
Anna?
Victoria now has the ability to see the dead.
They didn't look like they were menacing at all. I just got that feeling they were kind of questioning what I was doing there, like I was on their turf instead of them being on mine. They had me on several medications at the time. I started researching the medicines to make sure that there wasn't any kind of side effect that would cause me to hallucinate or have bad dreams or things like that. But none of the medications I was taking had those kind of side effects.
3 nights later.
I was getting up to go into the kitchen to get something to drink.
For more A Haunting, go to DestinationAmerica.com. After seeing several ghosts in the house, Victoria needs answers.
It's really scary. You're not expecting to see something like that. I started questioning, am I really seeing this, or is this a figment of my imagination? I need to find out what's going on.
Victoria turns to the one person who may know the truth.
Victoria.
I remember talking to my mom and telling her, I don't want you to think I'm freaking out or anything, but I've been seeing some things.
Who do you think they are?
Maybe they were the people that were killed at Starvation Peak.
Renee Perez knows that her house sits in the shadow of Starvation Peak. Everyone in the area has heard legends associated with the nearby mountain.
The story goes that the Indians were hunting, and some of the settlers attacked their village and killed a lot of the women and children. When they came back and they saw what happened, they attacked the settlers.
There was a peak that the settlers climbed up with wagon trails and everything, and the Indians followed them there. Anybody caught trying to leave the peak was killed. The rest of them were starved out, and that's how the name came about.
Do you think these spirits were related to the massacre?
Maybe. That's a lot of suffering for one place.
My mom decided that maybe we just needed to really give the house a good cleaning, smudge it, clean it, and do whatever we needed to do.
San Michael, Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness.
We light up the stage, and we went from one room to the next.
Victoria is worried that the cleansing might provoke the spirits, as it did in her old house.
By the power of God and all the evil spirits that roam about the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen.
Things kind of quieted down for a little bit after that, but they didn't stay that way for too long. I was petrified. I felt terrified. I was going to go and wake up my mom and decided that I wasn't going to. So I just stayed in the living room. I didn't go back to my room for the rest of the night.
Victoria has suffered many sleepless nights, haunted by a dark entity that seems to target her and her alone.
I felt this sting on my back, like somebody had poured acid on my back.
Come here a minute.
What is it?
There's something wrong with my back. Can you see?
Oh my God!
Starting from the back of my right shoulder all the way down to the middle of my back, I had these 3 long gashes.
How did you get these marks?
And I said, what happened? Because it was, too far. She couldn't reach it, with her hands.
I felt so depressed at that moment because I knew that everything we tried up to that point was not working.
Mom, the prayers didn't work.
I felt defeated. That's what I felt. I felt defeated. It was winning. I was really, really scared, and I just kept thinking that at that point, we really needed to get some outside help. I went onto the internet and I started looking for paranormal groups around the area.
Months go by. Not one paranormal group responds to Victoria's plea for help.
That was the lowest point that I've ever felt in my life because I didn't know how to control the situation, and I felt like I was at my wit's end, and there was nobody there to help me. It's an awful feeling to be scared in your own house, and you feel like there's nothing you can do.
Finally, Victoria finds a group willing to offer assistance. The investigators of Purple Sage Paranormal Society agree to meet with her at a hotel in Las Vegas, New Mexico.
Hi, Victoria.
Roger Barton leads the group.
We decided we needed to meet off-site. I could tell when she walked into the room, she was terrified.
Victoria tells the investigators her story.
I joined the military in 1988.
Victoria seemed like a very tough girl. 3 tours of duty in Iraq as a medic in the Marine Corps.
The doctors told me that I had been dead for 5 minutes and 42 seconds.
She's dealt with the physical world in very traumatic situations. Now she's dealing with something that she can't explain that's also traumatic.
And then I started feeling really sick. None of the doctors could say what was wrong with me, but...
Psychic medium Denise McDonald offers an explanation.
It seems to me that something is absorbing your energy.
When you're down and out, when you have an illness, you're susceptible to some of these dark entities. They like to come in and they basically plug in and suck your energy.
Excuse me. Suddenly I'm not feeling very well.
I felt the pressure on my chest, At first I didn't understand what that was. Was that my feeling from an empathy standpoint? What Victoria's feeling? Did she bring those entities with her?
I'm seeing something. There's a little boy and a little girl, both wearing old-fashioned clothing.
When she started mentioning everything I had been seeing without me even telling her, it kind of threw me for a loop.
There's a woman. She's wearing an old-fashioned dress with a blue sash.
I almost started crying because I finally met somebody that I guess at that point I felt understood and could see what I was seeing.
There's another spirit. This one is darker.
When the description of the dark entity came about, there was definitely a change in the attitude in the room. I started experiencing some distress of myself. I broke into a sweat. I felt nauseous and lightheaded, and I actually physically got the shakes.
When Roger started getting sick, I immediately knew what it was.
Is it possible? Could he have followed you here?
Victoria can sense the dark entity nearby.
I just acknowledged that, yes, he did. He followed me. Yes.
While meeting with Victoria Danier, 2 members of the Purple Sage Paranormal Society suddenly fall ill. At the same time, group leader Roger Barton notices a spike in the reading on his electromagnetic field meter.
There's definitely something in here with us.
As soon as the EMF went up is when I felt the distress. As soon as the EMF went back to normal, everything went away and I was fine.
You believe me, don't you?
Yes, I believe you.
After the experience with Denise and Roger, they told me that they normally didn't do this, but they wanted to go and see my house right away.
I had a different image of what we were going to be seeing. It almost kind of seemed peaceful when I got there. It turned out to be a very pleasant place. At first, it kind of felt, oh, it's not so bad. It wasn't until we got into the house that I changed my mind about that.
We just want the lay of the land today.
And we instructed Victoria to show the house like she was showing a house to a real estate agent. Let's not talk about what's going on in the home. Let's not talk about the dark entity. We don't want to start anything we can't finish that day.
Well, this is the kitchen. Nothing fancy. And this is my daughter, Anna.
Just entering the house, the entity knew we were inside and was already upset.
Okay, so this is my bedroom, but I haven't really been sleeping here much lately.
Denise immediately senses the dark entity's presence in the room.
I felt his energy, his presence. I'm telling you, I'm downright scared. He's under the bed. I felt him go by.
As I was standing there, I felt something pass by me. It was strange. It wasn't like the hair standing up on the back of your neck. It was much more dramatic than that. It was intense. It was an intense field of energy that moved across me. It moved from the bedroom to the bathroom. I immediately turned to the bathroom and took a picture. And what I saw in the viewfinder when the picture returned shocked me. I was looking straight with an entity in front of me.
What was disturbing about it was that he had actually captured on film what I had been seeing.
A few days later, Victoria sends her family away, and the investigators prepare to make contact with the dark entity. This may be the only way to defeat it.
One of the things that we were thinking was happening is that this dark entity was actually feeding off of her energy and causing her health to be poorer than it should be. So we felt there was definitely an urgency to get back to the property and to see what we could do and relieve that situation completely.
They begin the investigation in Victoria's parents' bedroom, believing it to be a safe area in the house. They plan to use a process called light source communication.
Light source communication is the use of two small flashlights that twist on and off. We turn them to where they're just off and put them on a stationary object. We're not holding them or touching them or anywhere near them. We back away from them and they're separate from us. The idea is that the entity has the strength to turn a flashlight on to answer a question.
We want to know why you're here. Are you trying to hurt Victoria?
We actually went into Victoria's parents' room for a good half hour asking questions, and we weren't getting a response. However, once again, it was good that there's an intuitive there with Victoria. She and I both sensed that it was in that room. There is no doubt.
Denise senses the entity does not like Roger.
Roger, I don't think we're going to get anything while you're here.
I left the room, and at that point, they started having quite a conversation.
Were you with Victoria in the Middle East? Were you with her on the night that she nearly died in the hospital?
When the light goes on, that was an affirmative, a yes. We now know we had a connection. It was incredible.
Did you follow Victoria here from her house in Indiana? Did you follow her here from the other side?
Her interpretation of the dark figure was that when I had died, I had picked up what they called a hitchhiker on the way back. I wasn't expecting to hear that if you've crossed over and come back, you have the potential to bring others with you.
But just who or what did Victoria bring back with her? Denise, an intuitive medium, experiences emotions that tell her more about the spirit who is attempting to communicate.
I felt, from an intuitive standpoint, that this was not a really good guy in life. He was angry in life. He did bad things in life.
Can an entity who was evil in life now be controlled after death? Psychic and medium Denise McDonald has a vision of the dark entity tormenting Victoria as he was tormented in life.
I think he could have died from a drive-by shooting. He was in some kind of drug activity. I believe that he came back on the heels of Victoria's passing, that he was down in some murky place, some very low vibrational, almost to the point of we're calling it purgatory.
Nobody expects to die and come back. To find out that you have somebody following you is even more scary.
Investigators believe the spirits of the two children and the woman did not follow Victoria as she came back to life. She sees them because death changed her. But they are unsure if they can rid Victoria of the aggressive ghost.
I truly believe not everyone is eligible for the light. I felt that he was a bad individual in life. He doesn't have eligibility to move on to the light. But with all good intentions, maybe we should send him to the light and see what happens.
How are we supposed to help him?
We need to pray.
Our philosophy is that spirit entities that are here in this realm right now need to move on, and that they need to complete their spiritual journey.
We are here to help. Do you understand? We're all going to pray for you.
The prayer circle is usually the invocation, bringing on as much good energy as we could at this point to help him move on to wherever he needed to go.
Are you ready? Let's join hands.
We say a prayer, each one of us, and we bring on our own personal energy, whether it's our religion, our guides, whatever our moral compass is, to help evict or exorcise this entity from this environment.
As we forgive those who've sinned against us.
Amen. Amen. Can you see the light now? Follow the light.
It was a regular light show in there. Whether he was happy about what we were doing or trying to tell us to leave him alone, I don't know. But it was definitely intense.
You can't stay. You don't belong. Victoria, you have to tell him to go.
Denise told me that it was my room, it was my house, so I had to be the one to tell him it was time to go. And I just told him.
There's nothing here for you. You must move on. You must move on now.
The minute she did that, it was like a switch got thrown. The energy in the room ceased, the lights stopped, all the energy dissipated.
Victoria?
We looked at Victoria and we're like, well, how do you feel?
It was this weight that just felt like it was lifted, finally. It was lifted. I felt at peace. There wasn't anything else that was going to hurt me or my family.
Since Purple Sage Paranormal concluded its investigation, Victoria has not seen any further sign of the dark entity.
Almost ready?
Looks awesome.
I hope you're hungry.
Very.
Can I go get your grandparents and tell them it's time to eat?
But Victoria continues to see other spirits.
The other ones could pretty much live collaboratively there. They were not individuals that were causing any difficulty. So you're always best served to leave those ones alone.
Mom.
Oh,
You okay?
yeah, honey, I'm fine.
All right.
Just to see the old Victoria back, it was a relief for me.
Thank you for making lunch.
Anytime. Have a seat.
I do believe that the children and the woman are from the time of the massacre. They've been there for over 100 years. They will always be there. And that's fine. They're welcome. When my daughter died, so strange to say that, she opened a door to the spirit world. And she is gonna have to learn to live with that.
I truly believe that Victoria is currently a medium. She's going to need to be open and willing to deal with whatever comes her way.
If there was a way for me to stop it, I wish I could. For some reason or another, I was chosen.